Let's paint a picture. It's Sunday evening, you've had a bath, you've lit a candle, maybe you've done a face mask, and for about 45 minutes, life felt fairly manageable. Then Monday arrives, and absolutely nothing had changed. If that sounds familiar, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Tina, a spiritual life coach, human design practitioner, breathwork facilitator, and spiritual alchemist based on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. And on this channel, we talk about the real stuff, coming back to yourself, reclaiming your inner authority, and building a life that actually feels like yours. I want to talk about self-care today, and not to bash it, because honestly, I love a good candle and a slow morning as much as the next person. But I want to get honest about something the wellness industry has been doing for a very long time. It turned self-care into a product. And somewhere along the way, we bought into it, literally. I once spent $45 on a candle that smelled like, and I'm not making this up, clarity and intention. It sat in my bathroom cabinet collecting dust and judging me every time I opened the door. And the irony of a clarity candle making me feel worse about myself is not lost on me. But here's what was actually happening. I was outsourcing my power. I was looking for something out there to fix what was happening in here. And as long as I kept doing that, I was still a victim of my own circumstances, still waiting to be rescued, still handing my authority over to a product. The bubble bath was never the problem. The problem was thinking that it was enough. So what is actually going on when we reach for those things? In IFS, which is a framework that I weave through a lot of my work, we talk about protector parts. These are the parts of us that developed very early in life to keep us safe. They might be protecting us from humiliation, from abandonment, even rejection. They are genuinely trying to help, but their strategy is to keep us comfortable, not whole, comfortable. So when something feels hard, when we're overwhelmed, when we're exhausted, when there's something we really don't want to look at, our protector parts reach for the easiest available comfort. This could be Netflix, scrolling, the bath, the wine, the busyness. And I want to be clear, there is absolutely nothing wrong with any of those things. I love a great binge watch on a Friday night. But when those things become the only way we cope, when we're using them to avoid rather than to restore, that's self-soothing. And self-soothing manages the symptoms. Real self-care gets down to the source. And this is where your nervous system comes in, because this is where everything changes. Your nervous system is your inner compass. It knows things before your mind even has a chance to catch up. It registers a gut no before you've even finished reading the message. It tightens in your chest when something is wrong, even if it does look good on paper. The body is the subconscious mind, and you can't heal it with talk alone. Candace Pert said that, and she was a neuroscience. This isn't woo, this is biology. So when we chronically override those signals, when we push through, we numb out, we stay busy, intellectualize everything, we lose our ability to distinguish between what we want and what we actually need. And that distinction is so important. I spent years treating my gut instincts as inconvenient, irrational, easy to override. I'd feel a visceral no about something and talk myself out of it with very convincing pros and cons lists, until eventually it wasn't so easy to override anymore. My body got louder because I'd spent so long not listening. So what does genuine self-care actually look like? Because I'll be honest, when I started doing this work, it looked nothing like I expected. It looked like sitting with the discomfort instead of reaching for my phone. It looked like saying no to something I'd already said yes to. It looked like crying in the car instead of pushing through. Far less Instagram worthy, far more confronting. But here's what I noticed. When I started making decisions from my body rather than my anxiety, things started to shift. Not dramatically, not overnight, but the synchronicities I'd been waiting for, they just started showing up because I stopped outsourcing my knowing and came back to myself as the source. And I love the law of correspondence to highlight this. So within, so without. What we hold internally reorganizes our external world. And I have witnessed this in my own life more times than I can count. Self-trust is the ultimate act of self-care. Not the crystals, not the routine, not the next course. You coming back to you. If this is landing for you and you're ready to tune into what your body has actually been trying to tell you, I've created a free meditation and reflection guide that includes a simple 1-minute nervous system check-in. It's completely free. It's a very gentle starting point for coming back to yourself. The link is in the description below. Before you go, I want to leave you with one question to sit with, not to answer right now, just let it percolate. What is one thing your body has been asking for that you've been substituting with something easier? No judgment, no shame, just honest curiosity. I'll see you in the next one.